The Window Screams. Mike Roper's last night. This story tells of the demise of Mike Roper and the fateful night Chicken Lee enacted revenge. This is the third of the Chicken Lee killings. Viewer discretion is advised. Mike Roper stumbled out of his girlfriend's house just after midnight, whiskey on his breath, rage boiling under his skin. She'd slammed the door in his face, screaming for him never to come back. He cursed her, slurred insults into the fog, and shoved his hands into his jacket pockets as he staggered down Josephine Street. The night was unnaturally still. The fog didn't move with the breeze. It hung heavy and swollen, pooling around the curbs, swallowing the houses until they looked like crooked ghosts. Streetlights sputtered like dying candles, halos shrinking in the mist. Mike's boots scraped against the asphalt. He muttered to himself, thinking maybe he'd crash at his buddy's place a few blocks over. Another couch, another bottle. Maybe someone who'd still put up with him. That's when he heard it. The first cluck. He stopped, swaying slightly. The sound came from somewhere in the fog, soft and sharp at once. Another answered. Then another. They multiplied, weaving into a rhythm like 100 throats muttering in the dark. Mike snorted. Damn birds. He kicked at the empty street. His words steamed white in the cold air. But the smell that came with the fog wasn't normal. It carried rot, scorched feathers, and something chemical, like rust and burning batteries. It made his stomach roll. Shapes moved low in the mist, small, darting. Talons clicked faintly against the pavement. Mike's throat dried. He sped up, glancing over his shoulder. The clucking followed, grew louder, surrounding him. A memory jabbed him from years back, when he was younger, nastier, meaner. How he used to torment that freak Lee. How he'd thrown dead frogs through the broken windows of the Lee place. How he'd snuck into the barn one night as a grown man, drunk and laughing, and poured poison into the chicken feed. He'd never forgotten the sight of those birds staggering and twitching in the dirt. He thought it was funny then. Now the fog seemed to remember. The clucking rose into a frenzy, circling him. Dozens of chickens broke from the mist, their feathers filthy, eyes glowing pale. Their heads jerked wrong, necks crooked at impossible angles, beaks snapping. "Get the hell away from me!" Mike shouted, stumbling back, swinging his arms. He kicked at them, but they didn't scatter. They only closed in tighter. And then the sound came. A slow, shrill creak, like rusted wheels turning. A tricycle. Mike froze. His breath stuttered out in shallow gasps. Out of the fog, a figure drifted forward. Tall, bent, his face pale and warped. Chicken Lee. His eyes glowed faint white, casting faint halos in the mist. His smell hit Mike like a blow. Wet feathers, rotting meat, and that bitter tang of scorched metal. The chicken surged at once, slamming into Mike's legs, dragging him down to the ground. His scream tore through the fog as talons raked across his face, chest, arms. They climbed him like a living wave, feathers beating against his mouth, choking him. He thrashed, gagging. His cries turned muffled as wet feathers were forced between his teeth. His own spit and blood glued them down his throat until he choked, hacking, trying to rip them free. The birds drove him backward, their claws tearing into his shoulders and thighs, herding him like cattle toward the house at the end of the street. Mike's back slammed against the siding beneath a window. His blood smeared the white paint as he clawed up for balance. His face pressed against the glass, mouth stretching wide in a silent, feather-stuffed scream. His eyes, already gouged by beaks, poured blood down his cheeks. His hands slapped the glass, leaving red streaks. Bits of skin and nail hung from his fingertips where the birds had ripped them away. Inside, a 12-year-old boy named Kevin stirred awake. He was on the other side of the window watching in horror, but Mike couldn't see him, couldn't beg for help. Because Lee was there now. His pale face rose into view just behind Mike's. It wasn't rotted. It was wrong. Twisted. Like flesh had been melted and sewn back together by cruel hands. His nose hooked down into something sharp, bone-beaked. His grin stretched impossibly wide. In one gnarled hand, Lee held a brass plaque. Its letters glinted faintly in the foggy light. First place, Adult Bicycle Division, 4th of July Parade. Lee whispered to the chickens in a voice like rust scraping glass. Hold him down. He poisoned your food. Every seed turned bitter. Every beak burned red. Remember. The chickens shrieked, pinning Mike tighter to the siding. Lee raised the plaque. His glowing eyes flicked toward the boy in the window, Kevin, frozen in terror, and then back to Mike. With one smooth, brutal thrust, he jammed the plaque deep into Mike Roper's neck. Blood exploded across the window, spraying in thick arcs that painted the glass crimson. Mike convulsed once, a guttural scream bubbling through the feathers in his throat, and then sagged. The body crumpled to the ground. The chickens swarmed over it, dragging scraps of him into the fog. Lee pressed one blood-slick hand to the window, leaving 5 crimson streaks. His eyes locked on Kevin's, his twisted grin never breaking. And then he was gone, swallowed by the mist. Only the smell remained, burnt metal, wet feathers, and something older, rotten, eternal. Thank you for stepping into the shadows with us. If you enjoyed this tale, subscribe to Sinister Phantom Tales and make sure to like and share this story with your bravest friends. New hauntings emerge every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, so stay close. The next tale may be darker than the last. Every story you hear is original, born from the blood-soaked soil of Tehama County, the cursed woods of Lassen National Forest, and the ancient secrets beneath Mount Shasta. These are not just stories. These are sinister phantom tales. Sleep tight.